state would not be talking about the budget again until the second week of September. And we're scheduled to adopt the budget on the 9th. We might have to reopen those budget hearings based upon any money that the state takes away from us. So I think in sort of my crystal ball, I'm anticipating that we may adopt a budget on the 9th of September based on your actions today, but that we may have to reopen budget hearings, depends upon what our friends at the state of California do to us.
Right. We have to act on things out of our control. Supervisor Delbar's next.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to explain why I'm not supportive of what we're doing here. I guess this has been a different budget hearing than we've had in the past. This whole process, this go-around, is unique. Having sat through 12 of these, this is the most unusual one we've had. So my expectations were to come in through this process and see where some of the more larger policy decisions that we needed to make, and have those discussions and make those policy decisions. What we just did was talk about the crumbs out of a $200-some-odd million budget, which we could have done in the first 15 minutes yesterday. What I don't believe we started with is a balanced budget. And if we take into account the commitments we made to the teeter, we did not start with a balanced budget. Staff did a job of balancing the budget, but they balanced it on the back of that debt payment. That doesn't sit well with me. I was hoping that we would have some options here to figure out how we're going to address that. We are not addressing that in this. In fact, not only are we not addressing this, we're adding some external allocations. And they're great requests. There's no doubt that the Arts Council and the RCD are wonderful programs and organizations. But we have our own needs that we're not meeting. And I have a real hard time funding some of those external requests when we can't meet our internal needs. Now, we brought up some creative ways to try to get there. Some people don't like them. I don't think that they're as bad as the sky's not falling as fast as some might think it will. But we need to find some ways to meet that 500 or 800, whatever number you want to put up there, commitment, and not fall back. I can't, in good conscience, go with these external allocations when we can't meet what we need to meet here. So I'm hoping that between now and whenever there's a state budget and Thanksgiving, that we'll be able to figure out just what we have to work with, and maybe between now and then, and maybe I'm just wishful thinking, having some additional policy decisions on how we're going to get there, because I can't do this one. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just don't feel that we're ready to adopt a proposed budget, because we still have two major policy issues and considerations. I mean, we haven't identified how much teeter we're willing to pay, and the proposed budget only states $200,000, but yet on the side we direct staff to take other actions or take another look at that. The same is true with the landfill closure. We've asked staff to look at that, but it's not, I don't think they're prepared today to give a comprehensive overview. So I think absent those two things, I concur with Supervisor Delbar. I think that we absolutely need to look at how we're going to deal with that $800,000. And the reason I voted for those other projects and programs is because they really were crumbs, and I felt that they were significant in terms of economic development investiture that I felt fine going ahead with those, and they were small. But I think that we do need to find a way to address this $800,000, or whatever the number is when we finally see what it really is, somewhere in that realm. But I don't feel comfortable supporting a proposed budget that doesn't address those two issues in a hardline fashion. I mean, that's what adoption of a final budget is. You've got hard numbers, and I just don't think we have those today. So I think we need to make sure that we have those before we adopt the final budget. I think we need to continue this till we can get some very concrete answers on those issues, because it's too much money to figure that we send staff on their way to come up with solutions, and they are going to impact the bottom line. Oh,
Thank you. Supervisors, oh, I'm sorry, he took his pen down. I believe Supervisor
I
Pinchas
promise
was
it's going to
next.
be my final comment of the afternoon.
You're way
It's-
over
it-
your 100 words.
It's really disappointing to think that if we didn't have $1,179,000 of budget overruns this year, we could have solved our teeter debt and all these, and balanced the budget and been out of here this in a half an hour. It's imperative. We go through a lot of work in this budget process. There's hundreds of hours through staff time to prepare a budget. You know, we've got to get all of our department heads in line to operate within their budgets. And if they are going to overdraw their budgets, then they must come in immediately and let us know before it happens so we can talk about it. But it's imperative that, and I'm talking to our staff here, that we can't in the future, let budget departments overrun their budget. Otherwise, you know, here we are talking about $40,000, and our department heads overrun their budgets by $1,179,000. I mean, who's the boss here?